Novus, the new voice. Vox Novus, the new dimension. Vox Novus, thought and movement leaders who will share from their experience and offer tools to help us navigate our rapidly changing world. My name is Victor Fuhrman. Welcome to Vox Novus, the new voice. Shamanism is a practice that involves working with the energies of the invisible world. A shaman has the gift of entering the realm of spiritual energy for the purpose of healing, divination, wisdom, and clearing. While the gifts of the shaman are most often associated with helping the living, may they also be offered to those who have crossed over. My guest this week on Vox Novus, my dear friend Coyote Chris Sutton, brings his light to both dimensions. Coyote Chris Sutton has been a shaman for more than 25 years and a paranormal investigator since 1998. His mission in both callings is to help others, be they human, spirit, animal, or any other denizen of Mother Earth. Coyote Chris is also a musician, storyteller, show host, convention and workshop presenter. He's appeared on television shows including Ghost Adventures, Dead Files Revisited, and Ghost Lab. Chris is available to help individuals with spiritual and paranormal issues, be a part of paranormal investigations and events, attend and present at spiritual and paranormal conventions, and bring stories, music, and teachings to any situation. His motto is bringing light to the darkest places, and he carries this light wherever he goes. His website is coyotechris.com, and he joins me this week to share his path and his new book, Shock and Awe, The Spiritual Journey of Coyote Chris Sutton. Welcome, Chris.
Hi, Victor. It's a pleasure to be on with you, my friend. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and I'm honored to be part of such a fine show. So I'm really looking forward to this.
Thank you so much. And we had the pleasure of meeting and becoming friends when we co-officiated a wedding with our wonderful soul sister, Bishop Christina Rake, as part of a paranormal convention in Mineral Wells, Texas. How bad was that? 2015? Was it 5-6 years
yes.
ago? Wow.
It was December of 2015.
Wow. Yeah. Did you have a sense when we met for the first time that we met for the first time in this lifetime that we traveled together before?
Oh yeah, I mean, usually when you see somebody like that, you get that feeling of familiarity comes over you, and you know right away you can trust that person. So I remember you and I talking for the first time, and I was sharing things with you that I would not normally share with somebody I just met. And but so yeah, that told me that we indeed had that kind of connection, and that it just took us a while to get connected to this time around.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. But again, one of the things that's come up for me in recent years is that those that are friends and those that I've had come on this program have been, in a sense, soul family. We've been connected before, and we're here at this time together because the world needs the gifts that we bring at this time.
Yeah. They sure do. And that's why I tell people that I work with or people that I teach that we got to do our best to bring light and good things and good works to the people that we come in contact with, because we get a lot of people doing this. It's going to lighten the mood and bring up the vibrational energy of all of us. But yeah, it's so important right now to be a good person, not, squabble about politics the best you can, but show compassion to everybody and to try to make somebody's day, because these are tough times. And when the times get tough, people like you and I have to really step up our game.
And what I said way back when, about a year ago, I said, these are the times for radical kindness and radical compassion.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Tell us about your early life before finding your spiritual calling.
Wow. I grew up, I guess you could say, like any other kid. I was raised an only child. My father had a daughter from a previous marriage, and she and I did not meet until I was in my 40s. And so I was raised an only child. I was interested in sports. I played baseball and football, all those types of things. In high school, I was on the high school football team. So that was my focus, was sports at that time. And the church we went to was a Unitarian church here in Alton, Illinois. So I was raised in that. And so I had and I love Unitarian church, believe me, but it's not really a spiritual. It wasn't then. The church we went to wasn't then very spiritual. It was more like philosophical. The good works, and that's how you get by. It's not about being in touch with God or anything like that, or spirits or that sort of thing. So I had little or no introduction to spirituality or religion when I was young. And when I got older, and so, I had a pretty decent childhood growing up. I mean, I can't complain. Where there's some issues, sure, we all have issues, and those are issues we have to work out. But by and large, I had a fun upbringing. I always had a lot of good friends. And so I was fairly content until I got to probably around after 30. I felt like something was missing in my life, and I didn't know what it was. I had no clue whatsoever. And finally, I was working a job. So I've been in social services for over 30 years now, and I was working a job where I was counseling juvenile sex offenders. And so, coupled with this feeling of not having something I needed, but all of a sudden, then too, these poor kids, I mean, they were perpetrators, but they were also victims. It's like 90-something% of all sex offenders are victims first. And I started to feel and almost see what had happened to them when they told their stories in therapy groups and that sort of thing. And I was right, and that was in a bad shape. And so at that time, I was very depressed. I had some thoughts of hurting myself, I guess, but I was pretty down and out. And then it happens that I was presented with a way to make a change, and I took it.
So you started having this deep empathy and even intuition when you were working with these children, these kids.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
And how did that manifest for you? Did you see, did you hear, did you feel? What were the clairs that they say, what were present for you? Mostly the feelings and the seeing, and not the act themselves so much, but how the kid's soul and body looked. I mean, not, just at that time, you could see the anguish and the pain, and you could feel it. It was really disturbing to me because I had no idea why that was happening at that time. Now I know why. Many empaths have that similar experience when they first start extending their empathic gifts and reading and feeling the sensations that others are experiencing. Have you encountered that with other empaths?
Yes, especially, I do a lot of paranormal work. Some ghosts have a habit of trying to find budding empaths and then lay a bunch of negative feelings on them. And they'll go from having a great time one minute to crying the next and not knowing why they're crying. And you have to explain it to them and, teach them how to protect themselves. But yeah, and I've seen that. I've worked with other people. I remember I worked with a lady one time, and she became so burdened, tragically burdened with this, that she left the field. She just couldn't take it. She was too empathic, and she didn't know how to shield herself from the other people's energy.
Yeah. What drew you to shamanism?
Well, so I always blame my wife for this, and she can probably hear me. But here's what unfolded. So here I am. I'm in that state. I'm getting all these empathic, feelings and thoughts and visions, and I'm really struggling. And Julia said, "Let's go to. Hey, there's a powwow next town over." So, okay, that's and I knew about Native American history to a point, but I knew nothing about the spiritual part of it or anything like that. I was a blank slate when it came to that sort of thing. So we went to the powwow, and I think my daughter, Emily was 1 then, so we had her with us. And so I'm watching, and the ladies are stuff. You got the main arena there, and it ended up being like a national powwow. And so there's different people from different tribes all over the U.S. and Canada there. and just the colors and the drumming and the dancing was so cool. But I'm taking it in. I thought, well, this is really neat to witness. I'm really enjoying being here. Well, then I hear drumming coming off from this is a county fairgrounds. So there's one of those livestock barns, and I heard drumming coming from there, more intense. It wasn't social. It didn't sound like a social dance song. So I wandered over there and walked into the barn. And I found out later it's a warrior's dance. It's called a gourd dance. And it's for veterans and their children to dance there. And all of a sudden, I got so into the drums and so mesmerized, all of a sudden I realized there was another world, and I was had one foot in that world. And, I learned later it's the spirit world. It scared the crap out of me, I'll be honest with you.
I can believe you.
What in the world? Because I had no frame of reference for anything like this. And so I had the song and the dance is done. I walked out of there. I headed straight for the vendors. They sold jewelry and all that stuff, but they sold books, and that's what I was looking for. So that's how I deal with stuff. I didn't want to go ask somebody. I didn't want to look stupid. So I went and I started looking at these books, not knowing which one to get. Finally, my heart, and this is how you should choose things. I learned that. It was one of my first lessons. I saw this book, I looked at the spine, I picked it up, and I said, this is it. It's called Black Elk Speaks by John Neidhart, about Nicholas Black Elk, who was who'd lived back in the days when, the Custer, when they defeated Custer at Little Bighorn and that type of stuff. And, of course, Wounded Knee as well. And so I love history in there about the Sioux people. He was Lakota Sioux. And so I got that book, but it also talked about his work as a shaman, as a medicine man. And I read that, and now the Sioux people pray with a pipe, a Chinoopa Wakana, holy pipe. And so I thought, I'm like reading all these things I read, how they do their ceremonies. I thought, that's really cool. I'd love to do pipe circle with somebody who just smoked a pipe with somebody. I didn't know anything real about pipe circles then. Now, this is how the universe works, Victor, and I know you know this, is that once you put that out there, it's there to help you. It's there to start opening doors. Because if it's in other words, it's meant to be. So when you ask me how I chose it, I don't know if it chose. I think it chose me. And I finally said yes. I think I'd been asked before, but not as straightforward as this. I wasn't ready before. So I put that out, out there. Wow, I'd really have to do that. So now I wasn't too far from Chicago then. I lived in a different part of Illinois. And I was reading a magazine out of Chicago, and I was looking at it's a metaphysical magazine, New Age magazine, and they had an events page. So I'm looking at these events, and I see Pipe Circle at this, I believe it's in one of the South Burbs. It was a Mind Over Matter was the name of the shop, I'm pretty sure I went to. But so I call up the number, and I say, can I come to your Pipe Circle? And they said, sure. And so I go to the Pipe Circle, and I smoked a pipe for the first time, and I met my first teacher, Claudia. And that's where it got going. You
talked about being ready. I know that that's been a theme in my life, and there's a concept in spirituality called readiness in time, that you have to go through a certain number of events or experiences until you're absolutely ready to make that next giant leap, that understanding. So that's what we're talking about, really, and we both know about synchronicity, that right. When we are ready, those things will start manifesting for us. That's true. And I to this day, I still do that. I mean, if something, I put that out there and something happened, if it's meant, I mean, because I look back after this happened, after a few years, I kind of looked back and tried to figure out why I reacted a certain way to certain things. Now, when I was in third grade, I think our teacher read us The Hobbit. And I can still remember exactly how I felt. And when she got to it was very early in the book where they start, where Gandalf enters and they start describing Gandalf. And I feel this thrill go up my spine. Like, wow. But I'm 7? I don't know what's going on. So, and now to this day, I can still remember. Now I look back then, when I was 20, I went and saw Star Wars in the theater. And so I'm aging myself pretty well there. I was 20 years old. And it gets to the point, the part in the movie, where Obi-Wan has rescued Luke from the Sand People, and he takes him back to his little house. And during the conversation, after he gives Luke the lightsaber, he looks at Luke and says, and I'll try to do my
Obi-Wan voice here. And it's like, you must learn the ways of the Force if you're coming with me to Alderaan. At that very second, I got that same thrill up my spine.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so this is why I've always loved wizards. This is why I love this stuff,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because the Force is like, I think that's a lot of what Lucas got that is from Taoism, I'm pretty sure, a little bit of Buddhism. But yeah, I mean, I always use Star Wars examples when I'm talking to people because they can relate to that.
Yeah,
and there's some similarities to obviously don't move things, and I don't fight with a lightsaber, but some of the other things are applicable.
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet. Could happen. I don't know. I was going to do that. There's over in St. Louis. I'm on the Mississippi River, right just north of St. Louis, and they have a Ludo class over there. And that's what they teach. You can buy these lightsabers that are really cool, and they're pretty sturdy. I mean, obviously they're not energy weapons, but they're hard plastic or whatever. And they teach you how to do that, how to fence that way, sword fight. I was going to, but it's like an hour away, and it was like every Sunday. I'm like, oh gosh, there's just no way I could do it. So, but yeah, that would have been fun. I may still do that someday too.
Please tell us about the Red Cedar Circle.
Okay, the Red Cedar Circle. That's I'm a member of that, and we have a Southern Illinois chapter. It is a medicine tradition that comes from the Pacific Northwest coast, up there in the U.S. and Canada. There's a lot of tribes up there. There's an old story that ends with the creator's walking across North America, and he's dropping a tribe here and tribe here, a tribe here. Then he gets to the Pacific Northwest. Wow, this is such a beautiful place. I'm going to put the rest of you guys here. And so they got tribes like every 20 miles. Obviously, it used to be that way. It's not that way anymore. Well, they're pretty good population up there. So they created something that they could do intertribally, because they all kind of spoke different languages. I mean, there's similarities to languages, but you get all these different tribes together. Eventually, they're going to start fighting. So they developed this so all the people of different tribes could get together and pray and sing together and dance and be peaceful, be friendly. And it helped keep peace up there. But also, the person who taught me and other people, his name is Johnny Moses. Johnny's Nuka Tulalip, from the Seattle, Washington area. He was given permission by the elders, or actually told by the elders to bring the medicine to all sorts of different people. And that's what he did. And he taught us, and there are some other folks too that did that. So Johnny had taught our friend Greg, who's a professor at a local college. And so Greg brought the medicine circle here, 25 years ago. So I've been involved in it for about 20. So, but basically what the teachings are, they're not any when I used to practice Lakota medicine, there's certain rituals and things that you did. All right. Now, but those are like secret. And some people get sealing culture. This isn't about that, because I won't do the Sioux stuff anymore. I don't even have a pipe anymore. But we're not telling any secrets about, because every tribe has a different medicine tradition and has different, and families might have different medicine traditions with secret things to it. Don't share any of that. This is all very basic. There are certain ways of doing things, but it's a very basic, and it's something that's taught. It's been taught to all people of other colors and nationalities since 1920, when Johnny's great grandfather would teach people, white, and it didn't matter. If you had a good heart, you're welcome, and you want to learn the medicine ways. And so that's basically, I learned a different way to do healings. They do healing groups, and just so we have open meetings, which means if you have a teaching from the Greek, you give a teaching about something that you learned in Greek mythology, even, or something like that. You can share that. That's whatever's inspirational. You can pray in any way you wish. It's done openly. Now you can do strict stuff, but it's still nothing secret. It just becomes more formalized. But and that's why I like it so much, is because I feel like, because I'm pretty pragmatic, and I don't fit real well with having to do something a certain way every time. And this allows me to, as long as, basically what Johnny told me is, as long as you're helping people and, you're not breaking any major tenets, like, doing something that's insulting, one of the medicine helpers or something like that, you're okay. Because I've had to ask him a couple times, because I do things at events, at paranormal investigations and things, where I'll do it, I'll use it, my medicine knowledge, and I use the songs that we sing in the Sasiwas. So it works for me, is basically what it is. So I can open up a little bit and be me.
Absolutely.
And actually, you saw me one time.
Absolutely. Yeah. My guest is my dear friend, my brother, Coyote Chris Sutton. He's the author of the book Shock and Awe, The Spiritual Journey of Coyote Chris Sutton. Chris, please tell our listeners where they can get your book and find out more about you and this work.
Sure. They can get the book on Amazon. You can get a paperback edition, or you can get it on Kindle. And if you're a Prime member, you can read it for free, which is cool with me because they still pay me anyway. So that's all that works. And that's probably the best way to get it. If you wait for me to mail you one, it'll probably take forever because I get bogged down, and that's like the last thing I want to do is mail stuff. So, but if you ever want an autographed copy and you see I'm going to be there, and let's say you bought it from Amazon and you see I'm going to be someplace, by all means, bring it and I'll sign it for you. But yeah, it's that's the best way to get it on Amazon. So that's what I would go for.
And your website
is coyotechris.com.
And what can people find on your website besides your story?
You can find where my activities are. You can actually buy some merchandise on there too. I keep a list of activities which I got to get updated because I'm still kind of putting things in motion. It's so hard to schedule anything right now because you never know what's going to happen one day to the next. But I do have some things firmed up for this year, so I'm going to get those on there. Some of them are already on there, so that's the best way to find out what I'm doing.
And we'll be back with more of Coyote Chris. We'll be back with more of Coyote Chris after these words on the OMTimes Radio Network.
The cutting edge of conscious radio, OMTimes Radio, IOM FM. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
A social distancing tip.
Keeping your distance from others is important in slowing the spread of coronavirus. So here are some fun things to do alone. Read a book, take a walk, unpack your suitcase from that trip you took last September, paint a self-portrait, catch up on a TV series, do a puzzle. Remember, we should all stay home to lower the risk for everyone. For more info, visit coronavirus.gov.
Let's all do our part, because we're all #AloneTogether. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Hello, I'm Sandy Sedgbeer, host of OMTimes Magazine's flagship radio show, What is Going On? My passion is sifting through information, research, and innovations from new thought teachers, speakers, and researchers pushing back the boundaries of what we know about life, energy, metaphysics, and the universe. I love shifting perceptions about who we are, why we're here, and how quickly impossible becomes normal when we open our minds, expand our awareness, and accept that the only limits that exist are those we place upon ourselves. So if you're the kind of forward-thinking, eager investigator of what lies beyond the current reality that most perceive, why not make a date to come play with me in the field of possibilities at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time every Thursday, and together we can discover what's really going on.
Back on Vox Novus, my guest this week is my dear friend Coyote Chris Sutton. We're talking about his book, Shock and Awe, The Spiritual Journey of Coyote Chris Sutton. Chris, how did you choose coyote as your spirit animal, or was that chosen for you?
A lot of that was chosen for me. I was very comfortable with it. What happened was I was out walking one time. In the town I was living at then, it's right. I'm always by a big river. I live around the Mississippi. I'm about a quarter mile from the Mississippi. river now, and there was a nice river there where I was living, and I like to go out and walk around that area. And so I was walking one morning, and it has the tall grass. They've got these nice paved walkways and whatnot in this park, in the park I was in. And I kind of felt something. I looked up, and here comes this coyote popping out of the grass. Now, it's broad daylight, and it's like 9 o'clock in the morning. They're usually not out that time. Usually they're hunkered down by then. But he comes out, or he comes out and looks straight at me, wavers for a minute, and then goes back. Just usually they'll take off running, but no, just jaunted like it was no big deal, and got back in the grass and disappeared. So I kind of looked over. I walked up to that place after some few seconds of wanting to be very careful, make sure that I didn't get too close to it. And I looked at it, and I couldn't see it again. I lost it. But so that made an impression on me, because that's when you let the universe know you're ready for spirit animals, and you indeed are ready. They will appear to you. The hawk, and now I have multiple ones actually. The hawk is my seeing animal for my psychic work. I used to see, when I first started this, I used to see hawks all the time. So actually, I have I was given a name that literally means Hawkeye in Lakota. But then, the bear, I saw a bear when I was shamanically journeying. The bear becomes my medicine for healing folks. But the coyote is like, that's just kind of me. Actually, a couple other people called me a coyote before I even talked about this stuff to anybody. So I'm like, okay, I'm keeping it. Plus, it doesn't sound too bad either. It sets you apart a little bit from the crowd. Like I said, I'm pragmatic. It's a legit thing, but it's like, okay, well, I can certainly use this.
What is the spirit energy of the coyote?
This is my favorite interpretation. Coyote is usually the trickster. In most stories, and the coyote is the one that's always messing up and getting the people of a certain tribe kicked out of one world and have to go to another world because he screwed something up. He brings change, and my favorite interpretation of it. Well, one thing, you have to know a lot about yourself. You give a lot of lessons about knowing who you are in coyote. So, and I like that part of it because that comes in handy. I like the Navajo version of the coyote. And then the coyote's like, he's the dangerous one. The Navajo, the Dene, walk the pollen path, which is to walk in beauty and being at peace and resonating with all your people and your family and your tribe and your surroundings. The Dene Tau, that area of the Navajo, is all, it's supposed to be mapped out like this. This is the land of peace, da-da-da. But the coyote is not seen as a bad figure at times because he gets you off that path. He's the one that calls you to go drinking. He's the one that gets you to steal or and forget your spiritual path and to do other things. So that's considered a bad thing, which I can see that for that saying. Now, to me, it means what I do is I do the same thing, only I do it to get people to wake up. I turn them away from what the culture they've been fed, and show them what's inside of them. It's gift. In our tradition, we believe everybody has a gift from Spirit, a gift from God. And that what we do with that is first, we find out what it is. It could be anything. You might be a great healer. Maybe you're going to be Reiki or something like that. Or maybe you're just good to talk to people. Maybe you need to be a counselor. But it brings out that gift. So once you figure that out, that's good. But you don't run out to the world with it and start helping people with your medicine yet. You have to heal yourself first. That's next. Then you go out and use your gift to help others. And so as the coyote, that's what I do is I get them, come here. I got something I want to show you. And get them to move off of where they're at, out of their mundane and into the spiritual.
And that idea of healing yourself first is something that all healers, anybody who works with any type of healing has to learn, is that physician, heal thyself. Do it yourself first before you start sharing it with others. Absolutely.
Yeah.
How do you prepare yourself for working with the other dimensions?
What I do, there's a teaching that Frank Fool's Crow gave. And Frank Fool's Crow was a Wachashawakan, a holy man. He was an amazing shaman, amazing person. I actually knew people that knew him because he died like in 89, I think. He was like 99 years old. But there's a couple of books written by him, by Thomas Mayles, Fool's Scroll Biography and then Fool's Scroll Wisdom and Power. Now, I read about this little thing that I do first in that book, and then after I met people who had worked with him, had learned from him, they told me that they had learned the same thing from him. But you become a hollow bone. Now, what that means is you think of yourself as like a tube or a bone with the marrow gone. It's a hole. And that spirit energy is going to run through that. That's you. You are the hollow bone. So what you want to do is you want to cleanse yourself as much as you can on the inside so you can channel and access more energy. I don't carry this stuff with me. Okay, I wasn't anointed with some great power that only I have. This comes from all things. With what I do is I draw energy up from Mother Earth through my feet. I draw an energy from Father Sky through my crown chakra, which what would be, although they don't use that term obviously, but down to the crown chakra, you let it intermingle in your body, and it flows the whole time you're doing it. So you got all this energy flowing through, and you can feel it. You can feel yourself start to glow. And so then you look inside yourself and say, do I have anything that blocks this? And if I see something, I'll reach my hand in and take whatever it is out and throw it up to the sky. Until it's all flowing through me. I've got myself cleaned off. You can kind of, do finger brush, do the finger brushes on your energy and get it cleaned off. So after you've done that, and you're really totally, it's like a meditation. You're just totally fixated on this. Then you pick out somebody's face, somebody you love that's very close to you that may need healing. Maybe they're sick. Maybe they're having emotional problems. Maybe they're hungry. And you just send that energy to that person. You don't tell it what to do. You just send it. So you did it to a person that's close to you, like in your family. You do it to somebody who lives in your community. And then after that, you think of the world and think of some place in the world that needs that energy. And so you've put all this out, and now you're ready to go, and I'm ready to go. And that's called becoming a hollow bone.
Wonderful. You had mentioned going to that first powwow and being drawn in when you heard the sound of the drumming. What role does drumming play in this practice?
It's one of the main parts of my practice. It's used for journeying, which is a way that shamans soul travel. And I was having a good discussion with some folks this morning. I teach a Zoom class on it sometimes on shamanism, and it's like this. You go to a place. It's like between spirit and between the common and the spirit, and there you are able to commune with spirit animals, spirit people. Talking anything, anything can show up. It's an anything goes type of situation. But you're there. Your spirit self goes there. Your body stays here, but there are ways we set ways to protect ourselves. But the drum is what takes us there. The certain beats will do certain things. This is a faster beat. And it allows you to, and brain-wise, I think it lowers one set of brain, I think the alpha waves, and brings up the beta or something like that. And it puts you in your mind in a spot where it's more accepting and it's more ready to do this. And you travel the place, you gain your information, and then your drum brings you back. Now I use a tape because it's hard to do it when you manually do it. But if I teach it to a bunch of people at once, then I'll do the drumming myself. So that's very important. I use it for songs, obviously. I also have one thing about this here. I'm such a capitalist. I do have a CD on my website that people can purchase too of my drumming songs. The Sasiwa's drumming songs are not mine. So it's for that. And if I did an event one time at the Hinsdale House in New York. And it's a very neat, it's one of the most haunted houses in the world. But outside, it's so cool. I'm hardly ever in the house when I'm there because there's so many native spirits outside and other spirits. So while we had a group there, and I did my drumming and singing, and then, people can join in. And so we did that. And after we'd done for about 2 minutes, we heard drumming coming back from the hills. It was right there in the Enchanted Mountains. And it's just that sort of thing. So the spirits respond to it too because it's something they're familiar with. And they take it as a compliment that I can tell, that I've felt and seen. And they'll actually come up and, you can't see them, but they're there, and they'll gather around and kind of watch. And we always, say, we're here to listen to you. We're sorry what happened. We're not here to exploit you, anything like that. We just want you to tell your story. And so it's, it always goes with me. My gem is always with me. I got a special bag for it so I can take it on airplanes. And so, yeah, it's a huge part of my spiritual life.
What were some of your first experiences working with the world of spirit?
Wow.
Or anything outstanding that comes to mind?
The first time it ever happened, I was 5 years old. And it's one of those things that stuck. I don't know why it stuck in my memory. I didn't know why it stuck in my memory, but now I do. I actually met my great-great-grandmother, and she was long in the grave when I saw her. And she walked up to me and given me something, and I couldn't figure out, actually, we were visiting my grandmother at a nursing home, is what it was. And I was about 6 years old, I think. And, of course, it wasn't odd seeing an old lady come up to you, but she had a kind of a funny feel to her, and she couldn't really speak. But she gave me a little toy or something like that, and she smiled at me. I smiled back. I looked down at the toy. I look up, and she's 40 yards away from me. And I looked down at it again, and then I looked at it, and she was gone. So I'm like, I was looking through a picture book years later, and came across her picture. I said, "Who is that?" My dad goes, "That's my grandmother." Mm. I said, "Whoa," And so, yeah, that was my first one. But, I would think probably the one thing I did get when I was learning how to journey with my teacher is I came across a scene, as past life, I guess, but Spirit showed me about, me being very upset. I lost my wife. I lost my people. I guess I was native because I was in the right area, the world, and I guess how I was dressed. I ended up meeting one of those people, in this lifetime who was in that situation. So, I mean, that was certainly something that got my attention. Probably journeying too, like when I met the bear in a journey, he kind of leapt out at me that I ended up riding him around, in my spirit place. With ghosts, probably my first one was, I got into ghost hunting in an odd way. A friend of mine's son, who's I've known the kid since he was born, and he was working at a local radio station. Actually, he was a college student at the local community college. He had a radio station, and he wanted to do an all-night ghost thing, investigation. And he asked me to do it because he was into this stuff. I said, well, energy's energy, things are things, and consciousness is consciousness. Okay, let's give it a roll. And so we actually had a really good time. I got the head of drum out, and I was just making stuff up. There was no ghost shows back then, so I had no idea what I was doing. So I just made it up, and it worked out really well. And I just used my shaman stuff and made safe circles for everybody and using sage. And so, but that point, we came into a room, and it had the most awful feel to it, like some just agony and despair. And it's like in one part of the room, I walked in there, walked to that spot, I felt that feeling, walked out, walked back in, fell again. Found out later that there was a place where a young lady had hung herself when she was a student there. And because it used to be it was a girls' college for many years, and there was a dorm room, and they had converted into an office. But yeah, there was a suicide spot, which was the most
As a shaman, you work with all of the different worlds and different forms of spirit. Are there different approaches, for example, from human spirit to animal spirit to plant spirit?
Mm-mm. No, I'd say they're obviously not the same, but the approach is always the same, which is you ask permission, you make connection, you interchange your energy with each other. You get like in a communal state, and you show respect and you ask questions. That's for mineral, and it's for rocks, trees, animal spirits, people spirit, elemental spirits. It's all the same as far as how you conduct yourself.
And how do rocks and trees and other things of nature communicate with you as opposed to the language that you have with, for example, a human spirit?
They communicate you through feelings or pictures. I teach a psychic class, and one of the things I do, I carry a bag of rocks in there with me. Everybody gets a rock. And, of course, I tell them it's psychometry, which it is. But It's about, you tell me what does the rock tell you, and I get some of the neatest stories, and I've felt the same thing myself. You can see where it's been and what it can do for you. And sometimes we're attracted to certain rocks, be they ones you buy in the New Age store or the ones that you pick up off the ground, and you feel a kinship with it. I've got one on my desk right now that I've had for 25 years. It's a relationship with it. And it's energy. It can tell you things. It could warn you of things. It's just so many different things that everybody's there's each spirit body that's in it. Now, rocks tend to have rock spirit bodies, spirit energy. Trees have their own. Trees are wonderful. Trees are something you can actually commune with, and where you start off by touching it. You can be a tree hugger. You touch it, and you send energy to the tree, and the tree will send energy back. So you're exchanging energy. And whatever comes to your mind, you take that and you remember it right now if you have to, because things will pop in your mind that are not congruent with what you're doing at the time. So you take note of those things and make sure that you write it down or don't forget it, because that's a message for you. So, yeah, and with the animal spirits, you see a crow sitting there and the crows like to come around and call at me and stuff like that for fun, I think, because they're kind of mischievous.
Absolutely.
But in the same deal, so you do the exact same thing. If you become a hollow bone first, then that makes it even more. It works even better. And you always leave them a gift of some kind. Maybe you got a little tobacco for the tree. Anything you got on you, or you just say thank you. Thank you, crow. Thank you, tree.
My guest, Coyote Chris Sutton. His book, Shock and Awe, The Spiritual Journey of Coyote Chris Sutton. We'll be back with more of Chris after these words on the OMTimes Radio Network.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. AscendingHearts.com.
Hello, I'm Lisa Berry. Join me every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time for Light on Living. A chance to see new, hear different, and feel more as I shine the spotlight on all the ways to lighten the load of life's challenges. Light on Living is your link to that new way you're looking for, that new understanding that will enhance your life, and that positive connection that will support your growth. So join me and you'll gain insight and start to see things in a new way that motivates you.
Back on Vox Novus, my guest this week is Coyote Chris Sutton. He's the author of Shock and Awe, The Spiritual Journey of Coyote Chris Sutton. Chris, what life lessons has your practice taught you?
To be aware, one thing is to be aware that in any exchange that I have a part in it. And that means I try very hard to look at my behavior and make sure I'm being the best I can be. Because sometimes we get like we might get in a spat with somebody, and if that happens, the first thing I try to do is look at myself and say, okay, what part did you have in that?
Yeah.
you become self-aware, and it's I love this I think it's a Taoist saying. It says, never argue with a fool, because somebody might walk by and not know who the fool is.
Absolutely.
So, so you have to look at yourself. I was always fairly, compassionate towards people, but it certainly made me even more so. Integrity. It teaches you integrity, because you always want to present yourself in a way that you would want to present, not just, to be honest and to do what you say you're going to do, and to follow through with your spiritual teachings and walk the walk and talk the talk. To me, integrity is one of the biggest things in the world. People don't have integrity. It's people don't rely on them, and or tend not to want to go to them to do things. But I just think that's a thing to do, is just to have a lot of integrity in whatever you do in life, not just your spiritual path, but in your day job and everything else. Had to have integrity and to be who you are. If you would present yourself as a teacher, a healer, or that type of thing, you got to be it. You got to be who you say you are. And there are people out there that, there's a guy in Arizona who was selling sweat lodges for some sweat lodge retreat for thousands of dollars a person, and put 105 people in. I don't know how the heck they made something that big for a sweat lodge, and like 3 or 4 people died in there. I mean, that's ridiculous. That's my talk. So this has also taught me respect the past, respect, and be respectful of all things. Everything's got deserves to have respect. If we all respected each other the way we're supposed to, we'd have a lot fewer problems.
Absolutely. And I would add to that, I would think you would agree with me, a deeper appreciation and gratitude for all forms of life.
Yes. And for life itself. Even though it sucks, it's like, sometimes it's like, no, it's the most beautiful thing to have this experience, to be able to see things and participate and love and all that type of stuff. It's so amazing, and we take it for granted. And I'm just as guilty as anybody else. I've taken it for granted sometimes, but you can't stop and look at it. You start looking at your life, and you start appreciating it more.
Absolutely. You lovingly and jokingly blamed your wife, Julia, for getting you involved in this practice.
That's right.
How did your family and other friends accept your calling?
Oh, my. I was lucky that I lived about 4.5 hours from where our parents live. So I was able to initially start this, and nobody hardly, some of the people I worked with knew about it, but they were cool with it. Julie herself wasn't too fond of it for a while. I think we were talking about it the other day, and it's in the book, but I was when I started to learn tarot. I had a teacher up in Chicago named Gunn, who was a Mohegan Indian. He was teaching me how to do tarot, and she goes, "Okay, that's like the last straw. This is getting silly." So she was sitting there thinking this at the kitchen table, and I had some rocks laying on the table there that I'd collected from a local creek. One of them being 3-sided, and she said that rock started to roll across the table, and it was perfectly level. No reason it should have rolled, and she says it just started rolling. She goes, maybe I better let this go on after all. So, yeah. And now she's like, she'll do investigations with me. Sometimes we actually had a Sutton family investigation. I had my wife and both my kids, and we had it down at a local haunted hotel. But it was tough. My mom never did get over it too much. She wanted me to be a lawyer. And actually, when this happened, I was getting ready to take the law school admission test. And after this happened, well, no, that's not going to work out too well. So, but she always called it my Indian thing, and that's how she referred to it. My dad was fine. He was okay with it. He didn't quite understand it, but he's always fairly supportive of me. Now, my friends, it took them a while, and I was kind of reticent about talking, almost like I had kept 2 different lives. Almost for a time, and I think everybody was comfortable with that, which is fine. And the ones that were interested would ask me questions, but over time, just by doing what I do, everybody kind of came around to it. Everybody's fine with it. They even ask me questions sometimes. So that was, but it's not easy. I mean, you're going against, and this is a problem so many people have, is that everybody has a script that they want you to follow. They want you to be what they think you are. And if you don't, they'll come back on you, and especially like in marital relationships and things like that, or family relationships. If you change, that something's wrong with you, and so they're not as glad about it.
Was it natural for you to blend your work as a shaman with paranormal investigation?
Yeah, it worked out that way. When I first tried it, I thought, okay, well, this works. And I'm really glad that I did the shamanism first, and then did the ghost hunting after that, because I had my base to work from then. But yeah, no, it works fine. I mean, I don't use instruments much, but sometimes, the flashy, lighty things. But no, it just seems, the spirits react to it. I can help, I can help protect people with it there. If there is a spirit that needs help, I can do that. If a spirit needs to be told they need to leave, I can do that. So it just blends in real naturally with it. Actually, a lot of people want me to come and do that sort of thing. So it's been great for that. I just enjoy the heck out of it.
And I had mentioned in our introduction that you've been on shows like Ghost Adventures and Dead Files Revisited and Ghost Lab.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like having those TV experiences?
It was fun. Now, everybody thinks it's real glamorous, but you're there doing stuff for hours, and you're on the screen for, I think Dead Files, the longest one I was on, I was on 3 or 4 minutes for that one. But spent like a whole afternoon, almost all the night filming it. Ghost Adventures was fun. That was actually in town here, so it was down at the Mineral Springs, downtown Alton, and so that was fun. I mean, I like meeting the people. And now at Dead Files, that's Amy Allen and Steve DeShavi. I didn't meet them; they weren't there at that one. I met them later at a convention, but everybody talks about Zach Bagans and whatnot, and Zach and I get along fine. I mean, and the rest of the crew, we had a good time with them. Yeah, it's fun, and it's odd to see yourself on television, but it's neat. It's neat to see. We had a big watch party for the Ghost Adventures one. And of course, the reason we said we went there was because because the hotel was in it, and my friends have a shop there, and they're the ones that set all this stuff up. And so we're here for this. We're here for the just to support the Mineral Springs, because I've had friends that have been put out there. We're gonna have this big watch party. I'm on this show, and and then they get cut out from it. And so there's always that risk. But no, it's a lot of fun. It's a good experience too, because it exposes people to what you do.
Absolutely.
So it's a good time.
What inspired you to write Shock and Awe?
I'd always wanted to write a book for one thing. If I had a junkyard, I'd have, I don't know how many wrecks of cars that were books that I'd started and never finished. I kind of looked into it a little bit. I had done a 2-part video series for VidiSpace, online streaming platform, and so I had them sitting there. I'm like, I wonder if I can get that transcribed. So I asked my publisher, Mike Ricksecker. I said, "What do you think?" And he goes, "Yeah, give it a shot." And he told me how to do it. And so I got it transcribed because I was motivated by I got this idea from a book of a interview between Bill Moyers and Joseph Campbell, Power of Myth, and it's in the book. It's this transcript from the show, from the videos. So what I did, I took those, but I rewrote the heck out of it. There's a lot more information in the book than there is on the videos, but I rewrote and added more information and just kind of took advantage of that and was able to I did really well at that. Usually I'm always too self-critical when I write, but I wasn't here. So God knows I edited it 5 or 6 times before I was happy with it. But that's what I did. But I was always inspired to tell my story, not because of what I've become, but what other people can become. It's like even a schmuck like me can go and these things can happen. And I want people to get that idea. This is not abnormal. This is very normal, and you can do it too. You see how it works.
Was it difficult to convey your spiritual experiences on a 2-dimensional written page?
Yeah, it was. But I just made it as 3-dimensional in my head as I could as I wrote it, and just prayed for the best and hope it does. I mean, I was very descriptive. There's a couple of parts that are very long-winded, but it had to be because to convey that experience. There's an experience with this lady in a basement of the McPike Mansion here in town. We were doing a ghost session, and something incredibly great happened to her. It had nothing to do with that, with the paranormal. And I had to be very descriptive about that and how that came about.
Absolutely. What would you like your readers to take away from Shock and Awe?
That there's so many different paths to God, and all of them are good, if they're practiced the right way, and that never give up. That you can, I don't care how old you are, how young you are, you can make changes in your life that will improve your life greatly, and also improve the life of those around you and other people you come in contact with. That's what this does. It's not about me. It's about me being have this role of spirit, this responsibility, which I love. I don't think you've seen. I've got a bunch of tattoos on my arm, But it's about my story. It's got the Thunderbird, it's got the bear, it's got the coyote, it's got the hawk. That's my way of saying that I say yes to this. But I don't recommend that for everybody. That's just me, my own scarification ritual. But yeah, that you can make a change in the world, and that you're not ordinary. You have a gift. Everybody has a gift, and you can use that to make yourself and the world much better.
His book is called Shock and Awe, The Spiritual Journey of Coyote Chris Sutton. Chris, please tell our listeners one more time where they can get your book and find out more about you and your work.
Certainly. If you go to Amazon and type in Coyote Chris Sutton in the search, it'll take you right to it. You can purchase it in paperback, and you can get it on Kindle. And if you are a Amazon Prime member, you can read it on Kindle for free. So either way is fine with me. I'm more interested in the word than being on some bestseller list. But yeah, you can get it there. My website, it may be available on my website for too long. It's coyotechris.com, and you can also be able to find that and other things there.
Chris, my friend, my brother, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your message.
Victor, thank you so much for having me on. Always, anytime I get an excuse to talk to you, my friend, it's a great day. So,
I know the feeling.
And I hope your listeners enjoyed it, and it's been a great time.
And thank you for joining us on Vox Novus. I'm Victor, the Voice Fuhrman. Have a wonderful week.